We are very excited to have one of our Varying Rangers, Savannah Hoy, doing a presentation on the daily life of our Watershed Rangers. My name is Maria. I work here at the Visitor Center. This is our third presentation for this season, so we have three more after this. Next week is about geology of the Quabbin. After that, we have a presentation by one of our cultural resource staff. He's actually an archaeologist, DCR for DCR. And then our final one is by our very own Visitor Center staff member, Nancy, all about everyone's favorite mammal, the bear. But I'm going to turn this over to Savannah. And thank you very much, Savannah.
Thank you, Maria. Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully everyone on the chat can hear me. I'd like to extend a whole bunch of gratitude to everyone who showed up today, whether you're on Zoom or in person. It's a great way to spend a beautiful Sunday. So just a few things before we get started. We are going to dive a little bit into Quabbin history, just in case anyone new is coming into the chat, or maybe you guys don't know something, and I'll be happy to share that history with you guys. Again, for those in the room, if you are at all have to get a drink or use the restroom, please feel free to do so. Your safety and your comfort is always my top priority. So I promise you're not going to miss too much. So to get this kicked off, I actually have a few questions for you guys. So by a show of hands, those people in the room, how many of you brushed your teeth this morning? Okay, perfect. For people on Zoom, everyone raise their hands. That's good. How many of you made a cup of coffee this morning? Okay, and how many of you consciously thought about where your water came from when doing those activities? Yeah, not a lot of us, right? See, what's interesting is that water is essential, right? Not only to our daily lives, but to our daily tasks as well. Whether we are using the washing machine, getting a cup of water, or taking a shower, water is necessary. And yet we're privileged enough to live in a time and a place where we don't have to constantly worry about the origin of our water or if it's pure. I don't know about you guys, but the minute I turn that tap on, I assume it's safe for me to drink and for me to use. This wasn't always the case, though, in the Commonwealth. Since its settlement in the 1600s, metropolitan Boston has always been a little thirsty. The first few decades of its founding, local reservoirs, ponds, and wells sufficed. But as the population continued to grow, some problems came about. Soon, those local wells and reservoirs became insufficient to keep up with demand. And worse yet, they actually began to become polluted. Thousands of people were getting sick and passing away due to infectious diseases such as cholera, dysentery, and typhoid. The majority of these people came from poor immigrant families that drank contaminated drinking water. It became such an epidemic that soon city planners had to start looking for water sources outside the boundaries of Boston in order to ensure that the people of Boston could remain safe. So as the population continued to grow and the need for more and more water continued, more aqueducts and reservoirs were added to the metropolitan water supply system. These additions came from lands further and further west. They grew in both size and scope. And this westward expansion of the water supply, continued until the creation of one of the largest reservoirs ever built at the time. $1 billion question, well, which reservoir are we thinking? It was, of course, our very own Quabbin. Now, the construction of Quabbin Reservoir was a feat in human engineering, ingenuity, and resiliency. 2,500 families or 2,500 people had to be evacuated out of 4 towns. Every barn, home, building, church had to be taken down and leveled, all to make the Quabbin Reservoir. Now, the Quabbin Reservoir was a monumental achievement, and we can see that nowadays by the fact of how large and well kept it is. This reservoir is 18 miles long. Its average depth is 45 feet with a maximum depth of 151 feet, and it's capable of holding up to 412 billion gallons of water. Quabbin helps supply the Commonwealth with water, and it actually supplies 40% of the drinking water to the Commonwealth. So that's roughly 2.7 million people drink the water from here. Now, what's even more fascinating than the history of Quabbin is actually how it is filtered. So what makes Quabbin so fascinating is that it is not mechanically filtered in any way. It is filtered through the forest. So what that means is the natural vegetation and land surrounding the reservoir, what we call its watershed, actually helps filter the water. So by the time it gets into the reservoir, it's some of the cleanest water you'll ever drink. Now, this is really fantastic, right? It's both environmentally friendly because it's just the environment itself. It's also cost friendly as well. Construction of a man-made filtration system in Boston would cost billions of dollars. So it makes sense to use the forest, right? But there is a drawback. And the drawback is that because we rely on the forest and the surrounding environment, that is extremely fragile, right? And it's susceptible to things such as pollution. So, ensures that the Quabbin is protected from certain sources of pollution. The short answer is everyone. Everyone who works for DCR has a hand in ensuring water quality and the safety of the reservoir. Quabbin Rangers, we have a little bit of a more intense protection through what we do. Since 1992, Watershed Rangers have been entrusted with ensuring public compliance with DCR's rules and regulations. Now, these rules and regulations were set forth by the Division of Water Supply Protection, with the ultimate goal of ensuring that we don't pollute or overly disturb the forest filtration process. And as you can see, we have a lot of fun doing it as well. So my goal today is to tell you guys a little bit more about what rangers do. And if I may ask, by show of hands, how many of you have actually seen a watershed ranger out in the field? Wow, that's a lot more than I thought. Fantastic. Well, hopefully you guys will continue to see us. And these are the fabulous people who you may have met. This is the Quabbin Watershed Ranger team. So we have 11 full-time rangers with over 79 years of working for DCR. Those in blue, so English, Quo, and Therian, they actually work at Ware River. Now, Ware River shares a captain with us. So essentially, we call them Quabbin Rangers as well because we all do meetings together, and it's a very joint operation. So a lot of us have come from a variety of backgrounds. Some of us have come from the private sector, from the military, and from other state and federal agencies. This makes us a very multifaceted group. And what's really good is that really benefits not only our division, but the rest of the Quabbin, because we have so much experience with other jobs. Now, what guides all of us is our Watershed Ranger mission. That mission is to safeguard the water supply by maximizing public compliance with DCR's rules, regulations, and policies. This is to be done by being a proactive presence on watershed property and through the education of the public. So pretty much whatever we do, we have to ask ourselves, does it comply with our mission? More often than not, it does. But that doesn't tell the entire story. right? So this actually comes from our job descriptions. So this is a little bit more in depth on what we actually do day to day. So the dissemination of information pertaining to the watershed. Hopefully, those of you who have raised your hand when I asked if you've come across a watershed ranger. If you guys asked us any questions, hopefully we were able to answer them or also give you a wide variety of educational pamphlets and such. That's part of our job. We want to make sure that you guys know about the watershed and its rules. Not just because we want to make sure that you're compliant with them, but because by knowing more, it actually may make you care a little more because this place is amazing. And if you don't know about it, you may not ever find that out. And of course, we want to promote compliance with watershed rules and regulations. This is often done when people ask me, why can't I do this thing? Or why is this allowed and not this? And sometimes these can be very tricky questions. The one that comes to mind is, why can I snowshoe and not cross-country ski? That one always is an interesting one. And don't worry, I will talk more about that if you guys so wish. But it's important for us to know so we can tell you guys why. And what we're doing right now, prepare and conduct programs, tours, and workshops. Again, we don't want to be this secretive organization who stays in their trucks and no one ever sees us. We want to be out in the public. We want to make sure that you guys know we're there in case you guys ever need our assistance. We're all incredibly friendly, so you can always say hi to us as well. Assessing trail and road conditions. If any of you have tried to come into the park after a snowstorm and it's shut, you can blame me for that one. We essentially are in charge of ensuring if the roads are safe. And if they're not safe, we're not going to open them. As you can see over here, we have Ranger Alexander also cutting up trees. A lot of times we are on trails that sometimes maintenance staff haven't been able to get to. And so a lot of us are chainsaw certified and they can help trails that way. We also control crowds during events, and we have to notify appropriate law enforcement if necessary. So as many of you may know, right next door, we have the C7 Barracks, a wonderful group of men and women who work for the Commonwealth as well. And a lot of times we do have large gatherings, and it's our job to ensure that those gatherings remain civil and that everyone is safe. The one that we try not to do so often is participating in search and rescue operations. As you can imagine, the watershed is quite large, so it is very inviting for walking and hiking, but sometimes people do get a little lost. The best way to prevent that is getting a map or also just telling someone where you're going. So if you ever choose to recreate here at Quabbin, please just do that, and that will make our lives a lot easier, but we'll find you regardless. Another thing we try not to have to do is provide first aid or CPR when necessary. As you can imagine, being outside, you have a lot of environmental emergencies that may come about. I know I've gotten heat exhaustion more than once, and so a lot of times people will start these hikes and not bring enough water or they didn't condition enough. And the same goes for weather kind of like this, when it's really cold, right? We want to ensure that people are safe. And one that is also luckily we don't have to use it very often, is assisting in the prevention and suppression of forest fires. If you guys recall, how was the water filtered? By the forests, right? So we really don't want forest fires running rampant, right? So all of us are trained in forest fire suppression. We're actually going through that training now. And as you can see, we also have a few things, our forest suppression and firefighting equipment. And every truck in the summertime has something called an Indian pump. It's exactly what it looks like. You spray the ground, and then we also have a whole bunch of firefighting equipment in each truck as well. But of course, that doesn't tell the whole story. the best part about this job is you have no idea what you are going to do when you step into this office. For example, you guys will be seeing a picture of a sheep. And this sheep is near and dear in our hearts. That sheep and its friend actually hung out by shaft 12 for about 2 weeks. So shaft 12 is the intake to where Boston gets its water. And these sheep were incredibly difficult to wrangle, but with the assistance of the Peter Sam animal control officer, we managed to gain the trust of the sheep. And we were able to get the sheep to a sanctuary. In certain cases, we also have to put up surveillance cameras. That's just for areas that are restricted. We also do boom deployment. So let's say, have any of you been on Route 202? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of tractor trailers on 202, right? Sometimes they have either gas or oil or anything else in them. If they tip, there's a whole lot of tributary streams that go into Quabbin. So what we are trained to do every year is deploy boom from gate 16, if you guys have ever seen that little shack. We go from there to the Prescott Peninsula and ensure that oil or residue does not make it into the main reservoir. And of course, talking to kids, doing educational programs, we love doing that as well. Are we successful at it? I would like to think so, yes. So since 2021, we have made over 164,000 visitor contacts. We have documented just under 6,000 violations. We found 193 unmarked or illegal trails. We found 10 encroachments. We responded to 4 medical emergencies, 3 hazardous spills, and 1 woodland firefighting or woodland fire. What is an encroachment? That is a fantastic question. So for those of you on the chat, someone asked me what an encroachment is. So Quabbin, as you can picture the map, it's surrounded by private parcels. So an encroachment is if someone in a private parcel edges a little bit into our land. Luckily, it doesn't happen often, but we do have to look out for that. So the Division of Water Supply Protection is really concerned about pollution, right? That's our #1 goal. And the fact of the matter is, any human activity within a watershed has the potential to pollute the environment. So the Division of Water Supply Protection made upwards of 30 rules and regulations. Now, I could go into each one of them, but we don't have that kind of time. But these are the most notable ones. They're notable because I find them either interesting or they're the ones we see the most. The most overarching one is 2A4, and it is all acts which may pollute the water are prohibited. Most of the time that is used for human excrement. Luckily, that doesn't happen very often. We also have destruction or removal of Commonwealth property. If you see any pottery or anything like that, that would fall under this. We want you guys to kind of leave it be for the next generation. No cooking and fires, no swimming, breach of peace, recreational vehicles, no animals, and no hunting except designated times and places. And of course, no possession of weapons. So these are the statistics of those almost 6,000 violations. If I was to ask you guys, what do you think the most documented violations are? I don't know if any of this would surprise you. Our most documented by far is no motorized vehicles. A lot of this comes from the Ware River watershed, but certainly the pollution and litter, which is the second most documented, we have a lot of that, unfortunately, and no animals. So those are our top 3. So those are the ones that we really look for. And it just kind of goes down from there. But again, these statistics are only in the past 5 years. So what can we do if we see someone disregarding our rules and regulations? The answer is it depends. You know, you have to really think about the severity or the size of what they're doing. Is anyone in danger by what they're doing? And so usually you don't have to go past one or two, which is education and verbal warning. And if you do it right, you leave the interaction and they don't know that they've been verbally warned. They think, oh, that was a really nice conversation. A lot of times, if I see someone with a dog, I'll be like, hey, is it your first time here at Quabbin? You want to build a rapport, you want to be friendly. Because a lot of times, people who break our rules don't mean to. They're first time visitors, they're excited. I get it. I would want to bring a dog here. So going at it in a place of empathy and understanding is really big. But if I see you do it again, it's a little bit of a different story. Expulsion from property. I have never had to go beyond expulsion of property. Expulsion of property is if I've had to talk to you more than once, or if the safety of either our staff or visitors is compromised. 4 and 5 are, you're having a real bad day. So 1 year trespassing order. That is if it is a systemic issue that we have. Let's say you walk your dog every day, and every day a ranger has to talk to you. You're getting a 1 year no trespassing order. And if it continues after that, you're actually going to get a criminal charge. So the thing about all of our rules and regulations is that they are criminal, meaning technically, if you walk your dog one time, that could be potentially a felony. We're not gonna do that, but it does kind of state the seriousness in which we take our rules and regulations. So a little bit more about those criminal charges. A refusal to comply to a rule, regulation, or order shall be punished by a criminal fine of no more than $50,000 or imprisonment for no more than 5 years. Continued violation shall result in a fine of $10,000 per day. You know, in the past 5 years, I don't think so. Usually, the 1 year trespassing order is enough. Yeah, that's really the last thing we want to do, right? But it's in our tool belt if we need it. And that's honestly more important than anything, is just saying, hey, we can. Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges they have is poaching.
Yes.
Guys jacking deer.
Oh, okay.
What's the level of activity of that here?
Yeah, so for those in the Zoom chat, a gentleman just asked me the level of poaching. Poaching, we do look into that. It is not nearly as bad as earlier on. If you guys are ever interested, before there were Watershed Rangers, the law enforcement division that was entrusted with Quabbin was actually the Metropolitan District Commission Police. This is a phenomenal book. It has the news clippings from 1942 to 1992. They had a lot of poaching cases. I think the fact that we are a proactive presence, you know, we certainly don't make it easy for people to poach. We're always out there. And also, we have really great ties with not only C7, but our environmental police. They're also always out there. So luckily, I don't think in the last 5 years we've had an incident of poaching. I could be wrong, but nothing comes to my mind. So how do we see all of these violations? Like I just mentioned, being a proactive presence. Now, proactive is different than reactive, right? We want to stop situations from happening before they happen, right? And that comes with being outside and talking to people, you know? So how do we go about our daily lives being a proactive presence? We have quite a few options. First and foremost, this is actually my favorite patrol type, paw patrol. So if you've ever seen me hiking or going up Rattlesnake Hill, breathing real heavy, that's a foot patrol, You could also see us on boat patrol if you're out fishing as well. We also ensure that people are behaving themselves out on the water. Kayak patrols, we do have our tension routes. So a lot of times in the fall, we actually go out on the kayaks, not really to see violations, but to actually pick up fishing line and lures. If any of you are familiar with Pepper's Mill Pond, that's my favorite pond because there's a lot of fishing line and a lot of lures. So that's also something we do. One of the more entertaining ones is the UTV and or ATV patrol. We can drive the UTV and ATV pretty much anywhere. We also have trailers for it. So ATVs and UTVs we utilize a lot in Prescott Peninsula because some of those roads are really washed out and we like our trucks. So we want to make sure that we utilize something that can be appropriate for that. Bike patrol. Bike patrol is new. We have e-bikes and I don't think I can go back. The bike patrol is really great actually for assessing some of the trails. The thing is the trucks and the ATVs are quite big. So with trails, we can either do bike patrol or foot patrol. I personally enjoy foot patrol, but some of them like Webster Road, it makes more sense to do bike patrol. I usually do bike patrol after major storms to see if there's any downed trees, because there's nothing worse than trying to back up a truck when there's a tree down, and I'm not chainsaw certified, so I just can look at it and report it. So, all right, by a quick show of hands, how many of you have seen Rangers in their trucks and only their trucks? There's still a few people.
One of those ATV things recently, and the guy was really excited because I asked him about it. He said, "Oh, this is brand new.
Yeah.
Some fun."
Yes, our UTV is quite new. So here, one of the most common comments that we get is, "Why are Rangers always in?" And this is a very fair question. The fact of the matter is, this watershed is 39 square miles. It's a lot. And when you look closer at this photo, this is our mobile unit, right? I have everything in here. So this is my office. The office in here is where I eat, but this is where I live. So we would like to get out of the trucks more, but if I have to respond to something in New Salem, I have to be able to drive there. So you will see us a lot in our trucks, but we like to get out. So we have a lot of agency over how we patrol, right? I could do any of those other patrols. What we are assigned day to day is where we patrol. So we have 8 patrol schedules and they vary. So it won't be, on Tuesdays, Savannah does East Patrol. No, it's constantly changing. So the patrols, South Patrol, it's 8 through 49. East Patrol, that's pretty much Hardwick, Peterson. West Patrol, Belchertown to New Salem. Off reservation, that's a really fun one. That one is kind of out there. That's Shutesbury, Wendell, and also sections of New Salem. On water patrol, that is the entire reservoir surface. So that's when you'll be seeing us on our boats. Prescott Patrol, we shouldn't be seeing any of you on Prescott Patrol. Yeah, so we do Prescott. Then we have camera and surveillance patrol. Again, we don't have cameras everywhere. It's just for critical infrastructure. We just want to make sure that no one is trespassing. And boat launch area patrol. As you guys can imagine, during the summertime season, those boat launch areas can get very busy, and we would just want to make sure, everyone's behaving themselves, but enjoying themselves at the same time.
Have you ever entertained drone patrol?
No. So the gentleman, for those of you in the chat, asked if we have a drone patrol. So
Entertained.
yeah, so a drone. So we have discussed it. Quabbin uses drone technology actually in the coolest way possible. They do like night vision deer surveys. Oh, it's so neat. But here's the thing, it's kind of difficult because the public cannot use drones. So we try not to extend beyond what the public can do. But we have discussed it. It would be great for search and rescues for sure. But I think it's still in the talking stage. If it ever comes to fruition, it will be several years away.
So you're just using for animal count survey?
Yes, it's fascinating. I haven't been invited on any of those surveys yet, but so who here has ever wanted to be a ranger? Yes, all right. So being a ranger is phenomenal. As you hopefully can see, I love it. And I think my fellow coworkers love it too. It's more than a job, it's our passion, and it's essentially our lives. But how do you become one? Well, here's the good thing and the bad thing, and it's the same thing. There is no one way to be a ranger or become one. If you ask any ranger, their story is really wild and crazy. So here are a few things that can help you if you want to become one. Volunteering with DCR and other agencies. I knew that I wanted to be a ranger when I was 13. So what I did was I volunteered for the National Park Service. So what you do is you get those network connections, right? And yeah, you sacrifice your time, but sacrificing your time at a beautiful place isn't really sacrificing your time, right? Especially making it pretty or helping out the public. Apply for seasonal positions. This is my first full-time position. I got this position when I was 28 years old. Before that, I was seasonal positions. So that kind of leads into the very last one, but we'll get to that. You need to take relevant courses. So this is kind of where we deviate, right? My fellow ranger in the back there, Ranger Green, I believe he took a law enforcement route. So I believe, did you have an associate's degree in criminal justice? Oh, okay. So it might be Ranger Therian has an associate's in criminal justice. He's in conservation. My background was environmental science and ecological restoration. So any of those kind of relevant courses will really help you out and make you stand out. Get certified in first aid and CPR. The government pays for us to get CPR certified, but it will certainly help if they don't have to pay for that. And this is by far the most important. Be patient. Being a ranger takes time. And part of that is the fact that it's through the government. Before this, I worked for the federal government. I started working for the federal government in 2022, making $14 an hour. And you just kind of have to live with that. But now, here I am, full-time, working for a state agency. It is not a quick process. But if it's something that you're interested in, hopefully you will understand that it will be worth it in the end. And don't lose hope. I mean, it takes years. But again, we have a long life, so we can become rangers. All righty. Well, thank you guys so much. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yes, I have a question. I walked many of the gates far remote from any main road and have come across the neon trucks. So
Yes, yeah.
Can you tell people about that? It's fascinating.
Yeah. So for those on the chat, I had a woman ask about seeing neon trucks. So Quabbin is a perfect place for research, right? Especially Prescott Peninsula. The sad thing about Prescott Peninsula is the public's not allowed to go in it, right? But that makes it so that all the environmental processes and all the animals are pretty much pristine, right? They maybe see a ranger once or twice in their life, and that's about it. So we do have research permits, and neon is a really big one. So research permits are usually through a university. So a long-term research project through a university. I don't know of any private non-educational research permits. But yeah, if you see people out in like Gate 22 is really popular for neon. They're just doing different research permits. And I do believe that we make that public. maybe. Yes, we do. We do make it public. Yeah, you can look up what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're a great,
Yeah, I looked them up on the.
yeah, it's fantastic.
I talked to some people one day that were at the water research station.
Oh, yes.
The water
Yeah.
stuff and quality and all that.
Yeah, it's
And some
fantastic.
guys were out in the middle of nowhere one day, they said they were doing bug counts.
Yes,
Like,
yeah,
really? You're doing bug counts and that's.
Yeah,
what they
that's
told me?
fantastic.
Like, okay.
yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
How was it decided which access roadways are plowed and which ones aren't?
That's a great question. So it depends. Oh, yes, of course. So a gentleman just asked, how is it decided which access roadways are decided to be plowed? First and foremost, the ones that have critical infrastructure, those are number one. So the gate 43 to shaft 12, always. Windsor Dam, Goodnow Dike, and pretty much the park, always. After that, it kind of is not a need to have, it's a want to have. So 29 is usually pretty easy because it's flat. 35, we know a lot of people like that. Unfortunately, as a ranger, I get surprised just as much as you guys. You know, I go to a gate and I'm like, oh, not so much.
So, I mean, just
Oh, yeah.
if you want to tell people on Zoom as well, just this year, it's been itemized, you could say, and many of the gates that are not critical infrastructure, they're plowed because they are our environmental quality staff, they have to do testing.
Oh, okay. So Maria just mentioned that this year, for my people on Zoom, that it's now itemized, and a lot of times that's based on the need of the environmental resources people, because they have to get out there every week. You know, just because Quabbin's frozen doesn't mean we have to not check on it. So yeah, great question. Thank you. Do I have any questions on the chat or any other questions? Yes.
Boats.
Boats.
So they don't rent boats 20 years ago.
Oh, we sure rent boats, and they're all nice and new and pretty. Yep, yep. And you know, I bet it still costs the same as it did 20 years ago. No, that's actually a really interesting thing. We cannot increase the price. It will, as far as I'm aware, it will always be $40. So yeah. Oh, well, and
You can do that too.
yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can ask our visitor center staff.
I was afraid they were gonna rent everything out, so I brought my own.
Well, there you go.
I came, there were 20 boats there.
Yeah, it's a hit and miss. Yeah, yes,
You mentioned that forest filtration.
yes.
So is there concern about the climate and how the climate is changing, or what does that do to the forest?
Oh, absolutely. So a lot of this is environmental quality and forestry. The rangers, we have a lot of fun, right? We're protecting the resource primarily from the public. The environmental quality people and the forestry, they are protecting it for the future. So I was actually just recently a part of a study to see how red spruce trees would germinate in different water conditions. They also are tracking mortality and forest structure. The forestry team here is just phenomenal.
And looking at shifting the species or
Well, yes and no. Shifting species, that I'm not sure of. But what they have been doing, and if you've gone to Goodnow Dike recently, they did a major cut. And that is actually to help diversify not only the species in that stand, but also the age structure. It's not good for forests to be all the same age. And Quabbin is all the same age. So by keeping,
Sorry.
yes.
I'm just gonna
Go.
interrupt real quickly. So every 10 years, we produce a land management plan. The next one should be produced 27 actually. And so all the forestry is, based on scientific research. Thank you. Thank you. And climate change is actually now part of what they consider. It's the same with our natural resources team. And DCR as a whole and the Environmental Secretariat as a whole has been looking at climate change and its impact on the environment in Massachusetts for several years now. So a lot of that is part of everything that we do. I will say, just quick correction, the forest here isn't all the same age anymore. It was originally all the same age because this area would have been primarily agricultural when they built the reservoir, and so they planted a forest. That forest was mature in about 20 years, and in the late 60s and 70s, that is when the beginning of our modern forestry program began, and when they started to include harvesting of trees as part of the whole forest management plan. So today, our forest is not all the same age, but it does. They are looking to diversify it even more. And one of their big things is resilience, and resilience for climate change, and also any impacts from weather or disease or insects and things like that.
Yeah, so Maria, yes. That's the lady, yes. Yes, go ahead.
Like, elaborate on the mystery.
Oh, yes.
Snowshoeing being allowed.
Yes.
Cross-country skiing.
Yes.
Two very similar.
Very similar. Yes. And I will admit, when I first started here, when I read that you could snowshoe, but not cross-country ski, my first question was, why? So the thing is, trends change, right? And I've actually had to ask this question to many different people. And there's a few different answers for it. My understanding is that back when they started to really look at recreational use in Quabbin, it was around the 80s. And they started to notice that cross-country skiing was really, really big in the 80s. So you have a few concerns there. One of which is cross-country skiing long distances. We don't have bathrooms. So we're going to have to contend with, okay, if people are out there a long time, nature may call. We don't really want that. Also, we didn't want people to commercialize that. Let's say companies like, yes, cross-country skiing for 20 people, set price, and then they utilize that. Because after a while, you may not know it, but like cross-country skiing will compact the soil. It may change the hydrology. It could do stuff. And yeah, even then, we try to minimize what we do on the roads. So, yes.
So just one other addition to Savannah's excellent explanation, which I always say that Quabbin's like an onion. It's got lots of layers. So there's a lot of different reasons why we don't allow things. But in terms of public access and recreation, we also have to produce a plan every 10 years. The next public access plan for Quabbin will be due in 2028, and they do accept public comment. And there are certain areas where they may look at things again and say, is that something we may allow? We may not allow. So, if cross-country skiing is something you're interested in, it's worth commenting on that.
Also, two more things. We do allow cross-country skiing in our off-reservation areas, which are stunning. So off-reservation areas are those areas kind of on the left side of Route 202. Pelham, yeah, we got Pelham, New Salem, Wendell, beautiful. And lastly, and this is really funny because about 4 days ago, I had international visitors, and they asked me why no cross-country skiing, and I told them. And they said, "Oh, that's a shame. I would have loved to cross-country ski across the reservoir." And I just know that would happen. And we don't have icebreaker boats, so we would have to go in our like Mustang cold weather survival suits, go get them. So yeah.
Like, anytime you start looking, an indoor box.
Oh yeah, but if
People
you're
skiing across
interested,
the road.
yeah, just see them through the looking glass, and I'm like, oh, yes.
Since you brought up getting onto the hard water, has there been any instances of people wandering out on the ice?
This year, no, and I don't know of any. Well, we usually see it after the fact, right? We can't be everywhere all at once. So sometimes in certain areas, we will see people going across the ice. It's a very dangerous thing to do. I mean, the ice is pretty thick, but it's unpredictable. We don't allow ice fishing at all. And what's interesting is you really can't touch the water. We don't want anyone to touch the water, even if it's frozen. But if anyone's ever interested in ice fishing, we do allow that on some of our retention ponds. Pepper's Mill Pond is a great one. It's just right down the road. So, yeah. Any other questions? Any questions in the chat?
Oh, just complaints about audio.
The value of mentorship.
Wow. So the value of mentorship is the most important thing. So when I volunteered, before I got into the National Park Service, I had a mentor, and she opened so many doors for me. Because if you network right and if you do your job right, people will want to help you, right? I see younger people trying to get into this profession, and I want to help. Also, every member of this team, because we're so diverse, we all kind of mentor each other. Ranger Green back there, he knows every law and regulation known to man. So I constantly go back there, ask him what he's doing. If it's something like technology, Ranger Paul is the guy to go to. Or if you need to know where the nice edible berries are, Ranger Metcalf knows. My favorite training. That's kind of a hard.
Has to be first aid, doesn't it?
Her husband taught a great first aid. It was definitely first aid. Yes. Gosh, I don't know. Oh, wait a minute. No, it would have to be night ops boom training. So I mentioned booms. They're these large kind of inflatable structures that if oil gets in a water source, we can kind of contain it. This past summer, we had a mock, what if an airplane landed in the water? And in the mock, we had to boom the Chicopee Valley Aqueduct to ensure that no oil would get in. But we had to do it at night, because doing it in the day just wouldn't count or be, nearly as fun. So we did it at night. It was like midnight with my coworkers. We're freezing. But it was great because if we can do it at night, we can do it in the day. So yeah. Oh, and also the guy who trains it is really great. Always brings donuts. So I learn a lot, as you can see. So yeah, thank you for the question. That's a great question. Wonderful. Well, I do have great materials out here. If you guys have any questions, feel free. I'll be around for a few more minutes. So thank you guys so much. Bye.